What's up, everybody? It looks like we're live. I just want to talk about everything, but specifically like this new FAQ for Armada. huge amount of shakeups. So that's kind of a big deal. Also, there's a new solo trailer coming out tomorrow, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to talk about that when it comes out. But what's going on, everybody that's just joining us? We're going to be talking about, basically anything. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. I've been doing a lot of Legion stuff lately, but have not lost sight of all the other games. But we had a huge FAQ for Armada yesterday. So there's and it's weird because there's so many things that change now with that. Let me pull. I made a list of a couple of things. So let me see. I wonder if there's a way. No. So Centocor, that's one I want to talk about. The title for the Imperial light cruiser, your Architon's title, Centocor. So Centocor was one of those that I never used. I never saw any reason to use it because you always had relay in it. So it says when another friendly ship resolves a squadron command, up to 2 of the squadrons it activates can be at close to medium range of you. Now, I think Centocor is a winner here because now that relay is nerfed where it should have been, now all of a sudden this is actually viable again because you can't just send your lambdas and stuff out in the middle of nowhere. Now all of a sudden, you can have maybe a lambda or something slightly out there, but now if you need to send some squadrons a little bit farther, the Centocor title actually is relevant. There's actually a reason to use it now. There was almost no reason to use it before. So I think that's really cool. Let's see. Green Lantern says you have such a hard time painting Rebel troops Legion mini faces. Yeah, I have a hard time with faces too. So I'm going to give you a little tip. And it depends how much effort you want to put into it. But one of the things I will do on a lot of these guys, one thing you can do is if you're going to wash your mini after you get your skin on there, put a wash over, and sometimes you'll get where some of the wash will settle into the recesses of the face and kind of do that lightly. But other than that, there are a few other kind of shortcuts. If you don't want to do eyeballs, or let's say if you do want to do eyeballs, sometimes you just take a toothpick, right, and just stick. This way you don't have to worry about the brush kind of missing and going all over the place. Just take a toothpick and just boop, dot it that way. So this way you make sure you get it like you have greater control that way. Some people will do that, and you can also. Just do eyebrows. And that's one of the things I will do a lot of times is if I don't feel like, I don't think I can get, especially certain characters that have stranger, facial composures. I won't paint the eyes. I'll just do the eyebrow. And then that's good enough because, you're not looking that closely at a mini's face. I usually don't paint eyeballs anymore. I usually just do, even my Luke, I didn't do his eyeballs. I just did his eyebrows. Especially if you're going to do facial hair on somebody or something like that. Then again, this is if you're not trying to be super, super high quality. If you're trying to be super high quality, then you need to take advice from people better than me. Could I say have a Legion Armada on the same board, Rebels and the Empire? Wait, what? Massive Blocks is asking me. Could I say have Legion and Armada on the same board, Rebels and Empire? Also, do you think they will make a Clone Wars Armada and Legion? I don't know if you can't have Legion and Armada on the same board, but if you're asking if you can have Rebels versus Rebels or Empire versus Empire, absolutely. We just had a tournament in Cool Stuff Waterford today. I did not attend. We had other things to do, so I was doing other things. But I just swing by to check it out, and there was a lot of people. We had 8 people playing, today, and it was 3 rounds, so it was an all-day kind of thing. But that's cool. So it looks like Armada is doing well. I mean, Legion Legion's doing well. Armada is struggling right now. We're not having as many. There's another Armada tournament tomorrow, but I'm not going to that because I know some of my. I don't think we're gonna have enough people, so I'm gonna play Legion tomorrow at Sci-Fi City here in Orlando. Can I make an Imperial turret from 2015 Battlefront or the turret from the Death Star to fit with Sullust? Oh, like a turbo laser? Yeah, probably. Probably. I don't know if it would look that good, but I might work on that. I might try to line something like that up. I think that'd be kind of cool. But one of the things we're talking about, winners and losers. I don't know if out of my folks who are watching, are any of you guys Armada players? Because there was huge news for Armada. So that's one of the things I did want to talk about tonight. But I'm gonna let you guys, the audience, kind of drive the discussion a little bit. But Centocor, I brought up. Centocor, I think, is one of the winners. I think one of the big losers. Well, the losers are kind of like all the nerfs. Like, if you were running Flight Commander, fighter coordination teams and Flight Commander on Yavaris, then that's kind of a loser because you can't get the free movements anymore. But okay, that's not too loud. My wife's making tea. The microwave's going to go off, so we're going to have some beeping at some point. That's no problem. But yes, so if you were running the Yavaris with you can move and double tap. Obviously, you're a little bit of a loser. You're not a loser, but Yavaris is one of the losers. I don't think Avenger is that much of a loser. Gallant Haven, I think, is probably the biggest loser. I don't think it really needed a nerf. My favorite Star Wars area is the original trilogy. I mean, easily, Galactic Civil War. Let's see. Was that second edition X-Wing, Brian Sane asks, was that second edition X-Wing post about ground vehicles an April Fool's Day thing? Yes, that was. So if you have not seen it, my April Fool's Day post from this year was a Legion Darth Vader painting. It's like painting Ultimate Vader or something like that. If you haven't seen that, watch it, but watch it all the way to the end because I started off kind of being serious with it. And I did crazier and crazier and crazier things, and the craziest stuff happens at the end. So it's kind of funny. It's far enough past April Fools. I don't have to really go worry about what is this Battlefront 2? No. Hold on. But yeah, I don't have to worry about spoiling that it's an April Fool's joke at this point. Well, let's see. We got some more questions. Let's see. I missed a few. He crunched it. 327 says, it would be super cool playing an Armada game, Rebels versus Imps, then playing an X-Wing game with the damaged ships based on who won, then a Legion game following the same fashion. Problem is that would take you all day. Just the Armada game and the Legion game, you're looking at maybe 5 hours, maybe longer because you're gonna have to set up. You're looking at an all-day event there, and while that might be cool, it also might make you pretty tired. I've had people try to I think it was when they came out with Imperial Assault. People were saying, "Oh, we want to run mix multiple games together," and I think it's easier said than done. It sounds cool, and I think, for me, I don't know, because I'm a family man too, so I've got kids and I've got other things going on. But if I had a 4-day weekend with just me and a bunch of Star Wars gamers and no other responsibilities or obligations whatsoever, I think something like that would be awesome. It'd be really cool to try to run a campaign, that links those games together. I could see that being a thing. But at the same time, I really like just playing standard standalone games. What I'd love to do, rather than run a campaign, I would love to sit down, with my entire collection, and then be all right, let's play a game. I want to do this list, and have a whole bunch of different lists that I want to try, and just keep trying play 4 games, in a day, all different lists, and just try them out and see, because when you go to a tournament, you're stuck playing the same list all day long, All right. let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Armada clarifications were sorely needed. Brian Henry. The Armada clarifications were sorely needed. They got rid of the more gimmicky tricks that rather than give tactical options. Gallant Haven required 3 minimum damage to even scratch a squadron with a brace. So I guess Brian Henry, I see what you're saying. So basically, if I did 2 damage to a squadron and it braced, then it would reduce it to 0 because of the timing of things. That makes sense. I've never really, I said this I think in my first thing, I never really ran Gallant Haven and had it work, so I guess I've never actually had that arise. So I guess that could potentially work. I guess that makes sense. Do I see the Dornian gunship more as a flotilla or small base Command 1 ship if it comes out for? I think it's going to be a small base. I think it's going to be, similar to a CR90. Dornian gunships are around that size. Might be a little bit larger. Maybe similar to an MC30. Maybe in between the two. I would hope that it's more closer to a MC30 as far as just relative power level. I want it to. We've got the hammerheads already. We've got the cheap small ships. I want some slightly more expensive small ships for the rebels that are more of a threat. I want some more threatening rebel ships rather than just the swarm of mosquitoes. I want some bigger knives. For the death by 1,000 cuts is what leads me to say knives. Have I finished the giveaway? There's a giveaway going on like every week or so. So I finished one last week. There's another one right now. I like the tabling rule. Limiting to 2 seems a bit excessive. So Jeremy, yes, that's one of the losers too, is people who have lots of flotillas that wanted to run those. I have 3. Actually, so the funny thing is I almost bought a 3rd GR75. I only have 2 GR75s right now because I never really wanted to run 3 of those. But I did want to run more than 2 sometimes Gazantes because of the fact that with Vader you could have a couple of red dice Gazantes concentrating fire, and you could have, I was running them for different reasons. I wanted to fight with them rather than cheese with them. And so that's one of the things that kind of stinks. So I would really hope the Empire gets some more small ships. I really hope the Empire gets the carry-on Spike. Or maybe look at that listening ship. That's canon. That was in Rebels. I think they'll get that. Let's talk about more winners. So we talked about the Centocor, the title, that now kind of takes the place of Relay for some of these. Speaking of Relay, Hera Syndulla. Big winner, I think, out of this nerf, because Hera's ability now is even more unique and even more important. Now, Hera's always been so expensive. But I think Hera now is a huge winner in this because she doesn't have to be, you can now still send your squadrons out and have them be crazy and do their own thing. So I think Hera is a huge winner here. She kind of takes the place. So the Rebels have that going for them. I think for the Imperial side, it would probably be Decimators because they're kind of, they're also expensive, but also crazy, like small ships almost that don't need to be activated. To a lesser extent, any squadron with Rogue, the Rogue keyword is now more powerful since Relay isn't that big of a deal anymore. So that's a thing, I think, definitely. Let's look at some more questions. Could I please show you how the Demolisher card is supposed to work? The Demolish a title. So Henry Stevens is asking this. Henry, the Demolisher card breaks a cardinal rule of Star Wars Armada. Star Wars Armada says that ships can attack, and they can attack from 2 different arcs, and then after they attack, they move. If you've ever played X-Wing, this is the exact opposite, because in X-Wing you move first, and then you attack. So in Star Wars Armada, you can attack 2 times. You can attack from your front and your left, or your front and your right, or your front and your rear, or your left and your right, or any permutation thereof. Or if you have gunnery teams, you can attack 2 times out of the same side. from different targets. What the Demolisher title lets you do is you can take one of your 2 shots after you move. So what that means is I can attack from the front, then move, and then attack from the side. And that's nice, especially if it's going to be against the same target. That's what Demolisher does, and that's the way it's most commonly used. Or if you don't have the front shot, maybe you just want to go, you can just move and take 1 shot. So if you don't attack at all, you can just move and then take a shot after you move. It's the only ship in the game that has the potential to shoot after it moves, with its main weapons. So that's a big deal. You thought the Dornian was smaller than the CR90. It may be. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be in that category. I think the Hammerhead is definitely smaller than a CR90, and a Hammerhead's still a small base. So I think the Dornian's easily going to be a small base ship. I don't think it'll be another flotilla. They could do other flotillas, though. And that might be one of the reasons why they have the flotilla change, is that they might have more flotillas. And but that would be weird, because if they add new flotillas now, if you want to run a new flotilla, you're now stuck with only 1 GR75 or 1 Guzanti, because you will have to make room for your other flotilla. So that will actually stink. I don't think we're going to see any more flotillas, specifically because of that ruling. That really would be a bummer if you can't run a GR75 or a Guzanti, if you want to run 2 of the new flotillas. That would really. So that's, I guess, maybe a loser, is the future of flotillas is now kind of hurt, unless maybe they do something like a title that says, oh, you can ignore that requirement. How would lightsaber nunchucks work? Easy. They'd be like normal nunchucks. You swing, except instead of the handles, they're lightsabers, but they're turned off, right? And you activate them with the Force. So when you swing out, you use the Force to turn it on and turn it off before it comes back to you. So you can swing out, and then if you don't want to kill somebody, you don't want to cut somebody in half, you can just use them as normal weapons. So I would actually wrap mine in leather if I had lightsaber nunchucks. So this way there was a good non-lethal weapon that could also be awesome, be more awesome. All right, let's see. Probably going to see less slicer tools now, since people may not have enough to throw away transports. Yeah, I never really saw many slicer tools to begin with. The only time I saw a lot of slicer tools was we ran one of the stores up here ran a small ship only tournament. And that one was interesting because slicer tools were a big thing. The tractor beams were more of a bigger thing, since you knew you were going to have only small ships. You could have all your flotillas run tractor beams. But slicer tools were a big deal for that, especially for stopping gladiators, because gladiators were the most common ship in a small. Every Imperial fleet had a gladiator or a demolisher. Let's see. Do I think they're going to add a 3rd faction to Legion? It's like Scum and Villainy with Boba Fett. No, I do not. I think one of the things that could potentially happen at some point is, I think if Legion is really, really, really successful, like X-Wing has been or whatever, we may eventually see other timelines open up if they get the rights and the approval to go ahead and make sequel stuff or prequel stuff. I think that is definitely doable. I think Legion would be awesome for a Clone Wars era battle game. But I don't think anything like that will happen, for years. I think Legion would have to stand the test of time. But I think Armada, the same exact thing, would be awesome. I would love to see Armada get, a Clone Wars era, core set and just expand into a whole nother, timeline. That sort of thing would be amazing. Another, what I think is a potential winner from this new Armada FAQ, squadronless fleets. Squadronless fleets are a winner for 2 main reasons. The first main reason is that you don't have to deal with relay anymore. Relay was so broken, and I used it sometimes too, and I even said, I'm sorry, but this is broken, but I've just got to figure out how broken it is. I hated relay. I hated going up against it. I hated being tempted to use it, because it was so. I think it was one time I actually ran Yavaris with relay, and I'm like, this is crazy. I could just have these guys all. Yavaris is, the weakness of Yavaris is that at those sides it can be killed so easily, but you can just hang it in the back, and keep it completely out of the fight, but making those B-wings double tap from across the board, absolutely broken. So relay being fixed, relay is still useful, and the squadrons that have it are still good, but now all of a sudden, your Yavaris has to still be kind of in range, and so it has to still be a little bit vulnerable. So squadronless fleets have, we're really getting crushed by, I'll just send 134 points of squadrons at you and you have no defense against them. Well, now, if I run a squadronless fleet, you want to come after me with your squadrons, your ships are going to have to be close behind. And so it makes it easier for me to just eliminate your ships and then say, all right, tabled, done. That's huge. Same thing with flotillas too. You can't just send that flotilla away with relay. It's gonna be so much easier for me to table people. I don't have to worry about scatter anymore. You can just ignore flotillas now. And that's what's gonna be really interesting to see if that changes. Because I think like my slow fleets is another winner. And these are similar squadronless fleets or slow fleets like MC-80s. Akbar MC-80s, like those, the side, I'm just going to go here, or slower ISDs, victory fleets that can just sit there and be like, oh, I can't. Normally you used to have to chase somebody down. So now all of a sudden, I don't have to chase you down anymore. One of the things you might see is the cheapest non-flotilla kind of act as a lifeboat now. You might see CR-90 lifeboats. You might see Raider lifeboats kind of flying the edge of the board and letting rogue squadrons kind of run rampant. So Hera may be really big, Decimators may be really big. You might see some of that. That might be part of a new meta. I don't know. But I think the way I like to run Architans. The way I like to run Architans are completely unaffected by this, and they're actually boosted because those red dice. Even with Vader, I'm not always getting that accuracy. So now I can really, really afford to just ignore your Bright Hope, or I can ignore those, and just go for your ships, and I don't have to care if you got a flotilla away and I couldn't table you, so now I tabled you. That's huge. Let's go to questions here. I missed a few here. One of my thoughts on tactical advisor now. You mean strategic advisor? I think that's what you mean. Brian Henry's asking me what are my thoughts on strategic advisor. I think that's awesome. And one of the things that I love about it is, when it first came out, we're like, well, you don't have to, generally the rule had been you didn't have to have a card unactivated to use something on the card, like the Interdictor title, for example. But now, with this one, it's you specifically have to be able to activate the ship. So that's huge, because this means your strategic advisor is strategically telling you to pass. But if you've already used his ship, especially if you need to do that ship first, then you've lost the strategy. So it makes that card have so much more depth now. I think it's huge. I think it's awesome. I think the strategic advisor change is a really meaningful change, and it makes the card way better, way more fun, way more tactical, better for both players, and it makes the game more interesting. I'm a big fan of that change, and I like it. I'm a big fan, and I like it. I'm also redundant. Let's see. Do I think that the Rebel 2 and Empire will get dreadnoughts? I don't know what Rebel 2 and Empire means, but Fausto Solis is asking me. I think we will see the dreadnoughts, or at least the Imperial support cruiser, or whatever the new name for it is, the Wolf. I think we'll definitely see those because, first off, it's a fan favorite, and they're canon now since they were in Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if the Rebels are going to get it, though, because right now it's just an Imperial ship. We don't have any canon version of the Rebels having this new canon dreadnought just yet, but there is hope for the future. I think the Empire are going to get them, and of course you can homebrew. I think Armada needs, I think a lot of our games need some type of commandeering ability. Imagine if, like in Armada or even Legion, that you had the ability to commandeer a ship. Like you were going to kill it, but you like Chewie take, and the Ewoks taking the ATST, or you know, a boarding party that lets you take over a ship that has, like, you know, only 1 or 2 hull left. You know, something like that would be really cool, and it would allow for some really cool thematic things. It would be really cool in a campaign as well, because if you commandeer a ship, then maybe you get to use that ship in your next. Oh my gosh, that would be so cool if they do another Corellian conflict kind of thing where you can commandeer. So awesome. All right. Let's see. Yes, and that's all right. So, Alexander Hines, you've seen the term MSU, multiple small units. That's what that means. So, like, lots of small ships is basically. So a swarm of small ships in Star Wars Armada. Brian's saying, if I wanted to start Armada, do I wait for reprints so you don't have to worry about erratas? No, just get it right away. There's not that many erratas. And I do keep an update of all the erratas on Crabbok.com, or all the major erratas. And the FAQ, you're never going to get away from it, so I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, the spirit, they're keeping the intent of the cards. Like X-Wing, you've had major erratas in X-Wing, like the Jump Master now comes with stuff that it can't even use because they've errated that card into oblivion. I think that's like the living example of what's wrong, you know, with X-Wing. You know, that's maybe not what's wrong with X-Wing, but that's what's wrong with the idea of errata is definitely that ship. With Armada, they've kept the intent and the spirit of each card for the most part the same. Like the Yavaris change, right? That was always the intent. It's like, all right, if you stay still, you can double attack. Well, we had a workaround for that. So the errata is only there to keep the spirit of that title the same. Things like that. What's the point of using interdictors when all you have to do is shut off the hyperspace safety systems? I think you're talking about Last Jedi, and I that sounds like a question for Pablo Hidalgo. Yeah, I think that's a question. I'm gonna punt to Pablo, but he's not here right now because he and I don't hang out, which is a shame because Pablo and I should be best friends. We should be tight. We should be like this. All right. Errata is plural. Erratum is singular. Erratas is made up. Wow. I did not know that. Now I know that. Have they done any reprints with errata yet? I know in other games they have. I know in X-Wing they did that. Like, I think it was the Leia Organa card on the Tantive V4 expansion was the first one I noticed. Like, there was like a misspelling or something like that, and then later ones came out, and I think it was fixed. And I know they reprint when something else comes out for the same one. So they did like a hard errata on one of the ships, one of those, the M3A Interceptor, the heavy sick title. It added it to also and give you one more hull. And so when the next expansion came out that had another M3A Interceptor, they gave another copy of the heavy sick title that had the printed errata on it. I really think it would be cool if they made like full errata packs available. So I played a game called Doomtown for a little while. Doomtown was like an LCG, and they would have to errata stuff from time to time. So what they would do, whenever the next expansion came out, they would say, all right, here's the next expansion. It's a 40-card expansion. By the way, we're also going to give you 4 copies, which is the most you could use, of all the cards that were errated in between the last expansion and this one. And there weren't always, but if there was, and it wouldn't be in place. So you weren't buying the errata, you were buying the expansion, and you were getting extra cards for free. So what I think is the next time like X-Wing comes out with a core set, They should give you all the stuff you would normally get in a core set. They should give you every single card also that's been errated. Same thing with every one of their games. Whenever they come out with something that they're pretty sure everybody's going to buy, whether it's a new core set or something like Corellian Conflict, something that has stuff for all sides, they should have errated cards in there. That would be huge, and it shouldn't be. Those cards shouldn't be factored into the price of what you're getting. Like Brian Henry asks, do you think there's any chance of custom character creation in Legion, like in other miniature games? I don't see FFG really doing that. No, that's not true. There is. Here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to get really good at Legion, and you're going to have to go to Worlds next year, because I don't think they're doing Legion at Worlds this year. They're just going to have some presence. I don't think it's going to be tournaments. And you're going to need to win Worlds. Once you win Worlds, now you can design a character. There you go. But I think that's about as close as you're going to get. I don't think they're going to have something like... I don't really know any Minius games that have custom character creation. So you'd have to, bring me up to speed on that. But, I mean, granted, there's nothing stopping you from homebrewing it. Like, go to Hero Forge, and build your own mini. Like, I like Hero Forge. I use their interface all the time, and they're pretty cool. But yeah, Hero Forge is fun, and build your own mini, and just bring them into the game. Fun stuff. Let's see. Given that Worlds is less than a month away, what fleets do you expect the meta to be? Good question. I think we're going to see more rogues. I think we'll see a pretty good amount of Akbar fleets, since Akbar, and they won't have to have home one, since you don't need that accuracy anymore, because you don't have to take out that Bright Hope. You don't have to take out those flotillas. I think assault frigate Akbars could be a thing. I think that would be a good thing. Let's see what else. I think you'll see more slower fleets. I think you might see a slight increase in either squadronless fleets or really, really low squadron fleets. Like maybe just like 2 Z95s in there or something like that. I think you might see that. I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing that you might see. All right. Alexander Hines. I seem to recall you listing some changes you wish would happen to X-Wing, shield dials on ships, colored dice for different weapons. Did I ever do one for Armada? Not really, because there's not a lot of changes I want to see in Armada. The only thing I really wanted was for Relay to be fixed, and that's done. Relay is exactly where I want it to be. And also... And that relay fix allows for you to go squadronless if you want to, with a little bit of an easier time. It's still a risk. Going squadronless is always a risk, and it's really not something that you should do all the time. And then the other thing was, like a long time ago, I didn't like that squadrons had to start on the board, but they've put out rapid launch bays, so you can still deploy your squadrons. So like Armada is just there. There's certain things I want for Armada that are just well known, like Superstar Destroyers. I want Superstar Destroyers. I would love the Fondor shipyard from Battlefront 2, where you can actually dock your Star Destroyers up to it. I don't think that would really work in the game. I think it would be more of a thing that you could just have on your shelf and put your Star Destroyers in. But I could probably get something like Mills Miniatures has stuff like that. I may end up doing something like that at one point, which would be a lot of fun. Would love to do something like that. But yeah, that's where we are for my wish lists for Armada. I mean, I want more Clone Wars stuff too, but it's just wish lists. There's no core changes that I think really need to happen with Armada. It's just such a good, in case you haven't picked up on it, I'm in love with the game. I think it's like the best game ever. All right, let's see. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find some more questions. Would I like to see cross-faction use of ships with special one-off titles? Absolutely. I think that'd be awesome. Especially if it's just the one. And the thing is, one of the things you could do is you could make it a title. It's like, all right, this ship is now usable by rebels, but it loses this. Maybe it loses stats, so it's not quite so broken, but just so you can have the thematics of it and also make it legal, all right, for sanctioned play. Be fun. I want my games to generally be legal, you know, and that's one of the reasons I'm really trying to get the whole line of sight cover rule changed in Legion. Is just because I don't want to just homebrew my own rules for a game that people across the country are playing. Because I want to play with those people, and I don't want everybody to just say, oh, you're making up your own rules? Oh, I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, because people aren't always going to be okay with that. You practice on one set of rules. It should be a standard across the board. And when that standard makes no sense and breaks immersion, I want to try to fix it. Let's see. What are my next predictions for ships to arrive in Armada? This is so hard because we're at a really tough spot right now with things coming for our Armada. And it makes me smile thinking about it because I have no idea, right? I definitely think the Dornian gunship is coming. It's hard canon. It's been all over the place. It's been in Rebels. But at the same time, the Rebels have a lot of small ships, so do they really need that right now, right? Assault Frigate Mark 1 would make more sense from a gameplay balance perspective. However, I think it has only been referenced in one new canon source, and I couldn't even tell you which one it is right off the top of my head. So that one's tough. So Rebels could get. I mean, there's a lot of options. At the same time, also. I'm 3. I'd love to see the Starhawk. Oh my gosh! Everybody who's like reading has read Aftermath and is a fan of like these type of games wants to know what the heck the Starhawk even looks like, because it's supposed to be a really super awesome Rebel ship that's supposed to be better than a Star Destroyer. So if that could only come out if they're going to do something, that because the Rebels have strong ships. The MC-80s are good ships. So like, so how's a Starhawk going to fit in? So I think the Dornian gunship is almost a guaranteed. But then for the Empire is where it really gets tricky, because we've got some things that seem like they could work, but I don't know how they're going to fit in. So if we're sticking with Galactic Civil War timeline, we've got the Venator. I think Venator is probably most likely. I could see Dornian gunship and Venator being like Wave 8. Although at the same time, I would love for Wave 8 to have more than just 2 ships. I would want Wave 8 to be either 4 ships or 2 ships and 2 squadron packs, although I'm not crazy about squadron packs, or maybe 4 ships and a dual squadron pack, like a big Wave 8. Or something more than just 2 ships. Maybe 2 ships and a mixed squadron pack. Something like that would be fun. But I think the Venator could definitely work. I would like to see a bigger side arc ship, and I think the Venator fits the bill. I think the Empire really has room in the game for a medium. I think the Venator would be medium, about victory sized, primarily side arc ship that would fit really well with an Arquitens, so you can have your Clone Wars era fleet. It would be awesome. I would love that. I would love a commander that maybe is not the same as Akbar, but did something asymmetrically that gave the Empire a side arc boost. But then at the same time, I think the Empire could really use a commander that gives them a front arc boost. I think that's what Piet will do. I think when Piet comes out, because he's very well known for saying intensify forward firepower, right? So I think Piet will be the guy who increases frontal arcs for the Empire. But I think Piet will come out after such time that we get Venators. So I think you're going to see the Venator first with big side arcs. And all of a sudden now all your Empire players are saying, oh, let's play side arc. Let's play a broadside Imperial list. And then after that, once that becomes the meta, then Piet shows up as like, back to basics, everyone. Boom, frontal arc centric Imperial builds come back. And now you have even more options. That's what I think. That's my prediction for like mechanics and the flow of the game. But as far as Imperial ships that could come in, as far as what's canon, we've got the new, in addition to the Venator, we've got that support ship Basically, the wolf that is your dreadnought from EU that was in Rebels, right? We've got that one. We've also got the Carrion Spike, Tarkin's corvette that could cloak. There's only one of them, but I'm sure you could take it without the cloaking device, the Stygium, take the Stygium crystals out, now you have a class of, I don't know, Imperial Light Corvette. I don't know what class that it is. You can probably look on Wikipedia and find out. But you've got that. That'd be, because the Empire does need more small ships. All right, so that's fine. Let's see. Squadrons, we got tons of options, but there's I can't really think of too many mechanics that really need to happen right now with squadrons. I feel like squadrons are mostly in a good place. I wouldn't mind some more red dice on squadrons, or mixed dice. I wouldn't mind some squadrons that roll like a black, a blue, and a red. Something like that. It'd be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind seeing like a really heavy duty bomber that rolls a black and a red against ships. I think that would be fun. And so there's room for some things, but they have to be costed appropriately, because a black and a red with a bomber against ships could be like insane, right? So you're like, wait a second. Now, granted, you've got like people like Kian Farlander who can roll 2 blacks against ships, and so that's not something it's not overpowered. It's just strong. So as long, he'd have to be priced appropriately. Like, it better be more than 20 points, depending on its speed and other things. Let's see. I can talk a lot about Armada predictions. Boy, it's crazy. Let's see. I'm scrolling up a little bit because I've missed a lot of questions. So sorry, guys. Let's see. What was the name of Booster Terex ISD? It was the Errant Venture, apparently. There you go. So some things are already answered. I'm scrolling up. I missed a couple. I'm going to have to just pick some here. Joe Last Name says, what do you think the time frame is for the Wave 8 announcement? I think it's going to be fairly soon. If we don't have it by May the 4th, I'll be surprised. Well, the week of May the 4th. Let's see, what day does May the 4th fall on? May the 4th falls on a Friday. So that's definitely a day where we can get a lot of stuff. So that's less than a month away. I think we'll have it by then. And the cool thing about that is, there's enough time. Like, if we have it after that, then you're starting to get close to like May, June, July, August. You're getting close to like Gen Con time frame. So if we don't have an announcement by Gen Con, then that's like a whole year in between announcements. Then that's a problem. That it's a little bit like, I want a little more frequency than that. So I would love a May the 4th announcement, and then also a Gen Con announcement. And they don't have to be like Wave 8, Wave 9. It could be like, I would like more maybe supplementary releases for Armada. Like, for example, just like the Corellian conflict, or like maybe card packs. Because like one of the things I think that would make a huge impact in Armada is just some more titles. There's so many ships that could benefit from more titles. There's so many ships that could benefit from just a little bit of extra help. The Nebulon B, for example, could benefit from just a little bit of extra help. So especially now that the Avaris got a little bit of a nerf. That's another one of the winners is other Nebulon B titles. I think maybe Salvation might see a little more play. And Salvation's never been terrible, and he works great with Sato. But yeah. In canon, it was the Imperials that first used the Nebulon B. Any thoughts on Imperial versions of that ship? I would love to see that. It's one of those things that like they already have frontal stuff, and I don't think the Empire really wants ships that are that weak on the side. But that's probably why they're not using them anymore. They tried to hey, these ships have a huge weak spot. So it may not be something that they want to bring into the game right now, but I would like to see. I'd like to see something like that actually in when they take maybe when Thrawn and so there's a Thrawn Alliances book coming out in July, which is so exciting. I'm hoping that when Thrawn and Vader go out to this planet Batuu, and that's what is supposed to be some adventure they go on this planet Batuu, which is far away and it's near the Chiss homeworld of Cilia. and so you're really far on the past the edges of the Empire. You're at the frontier of known space at this point. So there's the option to have some of the Empire's old, lesser used ships out there. You might see some old Venators or decommissioned ships that maybe the Empire sold some of them. You might see some old Nebulons and things like that, which would be really, really cool. I would love that. Very, very cool. All right. Let's see. Mike Preslack says, for a fleet with mainly large ships, would it be more effective to make a small squadron force or to try to fit in a small ship or a flotilla? Well, generally you want both. I mean, if your fleet has mainly large ships, I'm guessing 2, because you don't want to really run 3 large ships. I mean, it's tough. So I guess it depends. If you're running 3 large ships, it might be a good idea to just squeeze a flotilla in there just to hand out extra activation tokens with comm and give yourself an extra activation and command tokens. But I mean, it's always a good idea to have at least 2 squadrons if you can. Give yourself an extra deployment and just to slow down that bomber threat. I think Reimer might be one of the winners. I think Reimer balls might come back. I think Reimer balls might come back, and I think I wonder if I should try to bring them back. What do you guys think? Are you guys seeing Reimer balls get played at all? Like I haven't seen a Reimer ball since they got nerfed, and I think it's time to bring Reimer back. Brent Weimkin asks, not really Armada related. And of course, these questions don't have to be Armada related. You can ask anything you want. But he asks, what is your opinion on Episode 8? I thought Episode 8 was great. I enjoy all of the Star Wars movies, even the non-saga movies, even the prequels. I still sit down and enjoy. Episode 8 was good. I liked it a lot. I was a little shocked because it didn't do everything I wanted it to do. I was a little annoyed that there were certain setups that didn't get fulfilled. I felt like if J.J. Abrams had made 8, then he would have at least answered some questions and maybe given us some more. I didn't like the whole idea of you have all these years of fan theories and there's no explanation for some of that stuff. But that doesn't mean that the movie was bad. That just meant that they were going in a different direction than I thought they were going in. But I really liked some of the action. I liked the space. Your big Poe X-Wing fight scene at the beginning was really, really fun. I really liked the Rey and Kylo throne room scene. Really cool stuff. I like that you got to see Luke, confront Kylo Ren finally. Even though it wasn't the way I wanted it all to happen. There was a lot of cool stuff in Episode 8. There's some things that I wanted to happen a little bit differently. But there was a lot of really cool. I still want to see. I wanted to see Leia hold a lightsaber. I want that to happen. I don't think there's very, very few ways I can ever actually see that happen on screen. That's kind of a thing. Thomas Ackelson asks, "Are you excited for Solo?" And also wondering if I should get Legion. You're on the edge. It's a large investment. Okay, I am excited for Solo. But only because it's, 2 reasons. For one, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I guess that means I have to be excited for any new Star Wars. So Solo's exciting to me because it's a Star Wars movie, and that means that it's going to have new ships, new fighters, new capital ships, new vehicles, new racers, maybe new tanks or walkers or speeders, and all kinds of cool little Easter eggs and things that are going to impact my gaming life. Very exciting for that reason. But also it's got Lando, and Lando is my Mando. I love Lando, and Billy D. Williams is actually going to be at MegaCon here in Orlando this summer, I think. So that's kind of cool. I might try and go get a photo with Billy D. Gonna have to bring, because my youngest son is named Lando, so I have to bring Lando and get a photo of Lando with Lando. That'd be kind of cool. Might be worth it because they charge obscene prices. So yeah, there's that. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Solo. And also, we'll come to the second part of your question. Legion isn't that much of an investment. It has the potential to be cheap. I have a video getting into Legion for under $100. if you can find somebody to split a core set with you, just do that and pick a faction. And so you'll have 2 core sets worth of units. You can get an 800-point army with 2 core sets. Or if you can't find somebody and maybe you want to just diversify, just pick up 2 core sets, and you can find those for like 75 each, so like 150. You're in. You've got a lot of diversity now because you can play Rebels or Empire. And you've got, and then as new things come out, you're adding. You won't be able to change up your Imperial lists that much. You'll still have to run, like 4 core, 2 support, 1 commander, and kind of upgrade them and kit them all out. But you have a little bit of flexibility on what you like. Maybe these guys are going to have grenades, and these guys this time they won't. But it's not that expensive to get started. It's not. I think Legion might be one of the cheaper games to get started in. Maybe one of the cheapest, at least to play on a competitive level right now. That's all being considering the fact that you need a few other things. You need some glue to assemble your minis. If you want to paint them, then there's some costs that go into that as well. But I've got guides for like cheap, quick painting. You don't have to have like 30 different colors. You can just get a can of primer and then like maybe 2 or 3 colors, and you can mix it a little bit, or you can just do the monochrome method. So you kind of make all your guys like a certain color, just base them all, like maybe make all your rebels blue and then add some purple highlights. Boom, they're tabletop worthy right now. I can bring them up, things like that. Emperor Palpatine, don't tell me you like the Casino Subplot. There's a lot of subplots I don't like in all of the Star Wars movies. I didn't like Anakin and talking to Qui-Gon about midi-chlorians. So yes, some of the parts of the casino, I remember watching that thinking, boy, they're kind of taking their time. They're like, it was just weird that like our fleet is being chased and they're dying, and we're going to another place to like, get out of our ship and walk around and look for somebody. Like, it just that didn't seem like the right course of action. But at the same time, I tried to find the good points in it. And one of the things that the casino subplot did, if I'm trying to be optimistic here, or if I'm trying to be positive, it gave you different scenarios. That's one thing Star Wars movies always have, is they always have different locales and color schemes. So, like look at your original trilogy, right? Like, Empire Strikes Back. Okay, well we start off on the ice world. We start off in this white, everything's white. Oh, now we're in the asteroid battle. Everything's black with bits of brown, right? And then we have the asteroid scene, and then we end. And we also have Dagobah, where you have a lot of browns in the middle, the training on Dagobah, and then we go to Cloud City, where everything's like tan and blue. So you have 3, very distinct kind of scenes and sets. And the casino enabled them to have a distinct, like a golden and exuberant kind of setting. So it was a mechanism for them to do that. It was a mechanism for them to develop a Finn and Rose relationship that these things aren't really indicative of masterful writing, but they allow for the movie to be on screen and deliver certain things to you. And so that aspect doesn't bother me. Like, I don't expect Star Wars to be Oscar-winning movies. I expect them to be fun and cool and enjoyable. And I enjoyed them. I didn't like losing Luke Skywalker at the very end. I didn't feel like he needed to die. I'm like, wait a second. You were all right. You could have just sat down and have a water bottle and rehydrate yourself, and you'll be all right. You don't have to turn to dust. I felt the same way, though, when watching Return of the Jedi as a kid. I'm like, he's laying down. He's going to take a nap. He doesn't have to die. It's like almost like he died on purpose. He's like, I'm old. I think I'm going to die now. But Yoda, Luke has more questions. That's fine. Like, why'd you do that for? You're not supposed to just die on purpose. And I felt like Luke did that. But then again, shouldn't his metal hand have fallen down? Same thing with, what happened to Obi-Wan's boots in Episode 4? What happened to Obi-Wan's boots, right? One of the only tweets that I get a direct reply from Pablo Hidalgo. I'm like, look, I get it. Like, your body, like, just becomes one with the Force. And so Obi-Wan's robe fell down, and I think his lightsaber fell down too. But he was wearing boots. All right, where was his boots? It was just a robe. where was all of his other clothes? So I asked Pablo Hidalgo, where did Obi-Wan's boots go? And he said they went to boot heaven, which is just funny. Like, you don't have to take things quite so seriously. Is the point? All right, I missed a bunch of questions. Let's scroll up and see. We're gonna go for a little bit longer. Oh, I'm skipping over a bunch of questions here. Thomas, what's my opinion on Rose in Episode 8? Do I want Ewan McGregor in an Obi-Wan spinoff? I want Ewan McGregor on screen because I absolutely love him. He's amazing, and he's so enthusiastic to play Obi-Wan. When somebody is really excited about their Star Wars character and their performance, it resonates with me, and it makes me really excited. Like, I kind of, as masterful as Harrison Ford is, I'm kind of bummed out that he's like so against Star Wars, right? Like, or he's so grumpy when it comes to Star Wars. But like, Ewan McGregor is like, hey, would you play Obi-Wan again? He's like, yeah, absolutely. Same thing with Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson wants to play Mace Windu again so bad. I'm like, give it to him, even if it's in a mirror universe. Let's do some what if movies for Star Wars. Let's do some what if movies and let's just have fun. Let's just do, what if Anakin didn't turn fully? What if when he's fighting Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan's like, you were the chosen one, and Anakin's like, you're right, I'm sorry. And then they, and they embrace and they get them fixed up, and now you've got light side Anakin with Obi-Wan fighting again, and then Palpatine takes a new apprentice, and it's Starkiller, and they get Sam Witwer on there, and he's double lightsaber Starkiller. Let's see some crazy stuff. Let's do some movies for fun, because they would be awesome, and they don't have to have continuity with the cinematic universe. They can be what if movies. Let's do that, right? And then we can fix all the little things we want. We can get rid of midi-chlorian. I want stuff like that. You've got people right now. Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan could play Luke Skywalker, no problem. Looks perfect. Now I don't know if he I don't know if he wants to do that or what Disney's thoughts are on there, but there's so many opportunities for really excellent stuff. Let's do an original trilogy. What if swapping Luke and Leia, and then changing things a little bit just to see how things would revolve differently. Who knows? Maybe Luke is on the Tantive 4, gets captured, and manages to get turned, and then so like Luke and Vader are joining forces, trying to overthrow Palpatine, and then let's say maybe they do, and then you've got Luke and Vader, and then Leia has to get trained by Yoda, which apparently Yoda wanted to train Leia more anyway, and then she's got to fight against Luke and Leia, or Luke and Vader, and Obi-Wan doesn't die, right? Because things happen a little bit differently. So you've got Obi-Wan and Leia going up against Luke and Vader in this whole new what if trilogy. I think let's have some fun with it. That would be awesome. All right, you can tell I love talking Star Wars, right? Let's see. Will I do a Star Wars Legion Death Star or capital ship map? Probably not. Maybe someday. The problem with something like that is like a Death Star hangar bay would be really cool. The problem with doing a map like that is everything is like, I'm not that good. Like, I'm good at like doing nature stuff because you can be very rough and crude because I'm making like natural outcroppings and rocks and things that are but the Death Stars, everything's very man-made and very smooth. So I think to do something like that, maybe if I had a 3D printer, I could make a lot more, boxes and things like that. There is a trick to making that shiny Imperial floor, though, that I could possibly explore. And the idea is that you get something black, like you get some glass, and then you spray paint the bottom of it, right? You spray paint this glass with like this really glossy black, and then you flip it over. So you use the bottom side, right? So now you have this pristine, shiny surface that's totally black, and I've seen people do that in like toy photography. I follow this group called ACBA, Articulated Comic Book Art, and there's a lot of really, really awesome, in 1/12 scale, like the 6-inch figures, Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, stuff like that. And so and I, this group is awesome. You should totally check them out if you. But I've got a lot of ideas in building dioramas from that. And part of that has kind of inspired me to make some Legion terrain. Because I don't have a background in 40K or in 40K terrain, but I do have a little bit of a background in some limited capacity dioramas. And so to make something as pristine as like maybe a Death Star hangar bay would be a challenge, because one little mistake and then it's not going to look right. So it's very intimidating. Let's see. I'm only going to do a little bit longer because I need to go get something to drink, and then I'm probably going to play some Overwatch tonight to kind of cool down. Let's see. I've skipped over a lot of stuff. There's too many comments for me to respond to everybody, so if I don't get to you, I apologize. Let's see. All right, a lot of you guys have a lot of criticisms on episode 8. I know. I still enjoyed the movie. There's still a whole lot of good things to it, but it's okay to nitpick. I mean, as a Star Wars fan, I think it's our job to kind of pull apart Star Wars and to have fun with it, to call them out on things that you don't like, But what I can't stand is like people saying that Star Wars is dead, or like the really extreme reactions and the hate and the vitriol towards people who disagree with you. Like that's not healthy. And honestly, a lot of it, I think it's going to sound weird, but I'm going to tell you guys something. I don't get political on here, but there's a lot of, I'm going to mention Russia, not from a political perspective. As much, although as there is a lot of political stuff out there that has been linked to Russia, like Twitter posts and memes and things, whereas the same account would post stuff for one issue, really, really for it, and then against it, like just sharing, manufacturing memes that are so divisive, they cause people to fight, and it makes me think like, wow, they're. What is Russia trying to do? And so I really suspect a lot of this Star Wars extreme opinions and the extreme divisiveness and the name calling and stuff stems from like fake stuff, just trying to get us to fight with each other, because there are people out there that want to turn us all against each other. And one of the things that leads me to believe that is when I set up my website, Crabbok.com, I set up a forum, a message board on there. And whether I would get absolutely overwhelmed with, spammers, and most of them, like 85%, were .ru email addresses and Russian IP addresses, and some of them were very clever. Like they weren't even trying to sell you something. A lot of them were just like saying, it's like, women just need to be put in the kitchen, and this, like really ridiculous things, just trying to start an argument, and I was like, this doesn't, like, in topics that had nothing to do, like people would reply to a post of like, oh, X-Wing Wave 11 was announced, and like, click, comment some more if you agree with me on this particular opinion, things that don't make any sense. So I think a lot of the episode 8, like extreme hate, wasn't necessarily genuine. It's just meant to divide us. So that's why I refuse. Like I will listen to people on any given side, and as long as we're trying to be constructive. Like I don't tolerate people who are trying to be nasty to each other or hurtful, because we should always be kind. And that's what it really boils down to. We should never be cruel to one another, especially if you just disagree about a movie. I mean, it's a movie, and it's Star Wars, and we love Star Wars. And maybe maybe this wasn't your favorite film, but that's okay. There's plenty more good films coming. Rogue One, almost everybody liked Rogue One. I mean, not everybody, but Rogue One was an overwhelming success. So if you had doubts that Disney can make Star Wars movies, like, look, that was great. Solo is probably going to be different, but I think Solo will be pretty good. All right, I'm talking too much about all this stuff. Let's see. I've got to take a few more questions. Let's see. Emperor Palpatine, what units do you want for Legion? You want repulsor tanks and death troopers. Death troopers would be really cool. There's a lot of things that I want for Legion. You know what? I want more force users. I want more force powers. Like, I really would like, one of my biggest wish lists for Legion is specific powers. Like, I want you to be able to, like, you know how force push lets you do a move with a character. I actually want you to be able to, like, force telekinesis, like force throw objects, like pick up a barricade and throw it at somebody, like in terrain manipulation. Maybe advanced force telekinesis, where you can actually pick up a whole piece of terrain like larger than a barricade, like, you know. And it'd be tricky to have something like that, because people might argue, well, that's too big, you can't pick that up. And so you'd have to decide these things at the beginning of a game. You're supposed to decide terrain and how all the interactions are going to work. Anyway, so you know, if what is this? I'll get that later. But yeah, so I would like to see more things like that. But I would like to see that. I would like to see more of an advanced kind of force push or force repulse, because one of the problems I have with force push is that you can't actually push somebody off a cliff, because that's a clamor. They'd have to do a clamor to get down, and they can't just do a speed 1 move to get down. So you can't force push somebody off a cliff, but I want to be able to force push people off cliffs. And so it would be kind of cool if you had like a force repulse, kind of like Starkiller does in the Force Unleashed, where he just like, and it pushes everything away from him. That would be kind of cool, especially if it knocks everybody away from you, right? Especially if it's like one of those abilities that can even hurt your own people. I want more units that can really work with terrain and work with the environments, because the terrain is really what makes Legion so cool. Like, we've already, if it was just about the minis, I'd say we already have Imperial Assault. But you have these big, wide open battlefields that are so flexible, so things that work with that more be very, very cool. I also kind of like the idea of, I'm having fun with like snow speeders and speeder bikes that can go over terrain, and they can ignore things, where they can land on top of houses, you know, if they're flat and stuff like that. So I would like more flying units. Mandalorians would be really cool with the jetpacks, so that would be a lot of fun. All right. All right, let's see. Let's see, what else do we got? Yes, I think Rogue One stuff would be easily awesome for Legion. I would like to see some Jeddah. You know, the whole, like, all the ground battles, shore troopers, different types of troopers. It makes me wonder how many different types of corps we'll get, because like if snow troopers, okay. We've got fleet troopers, we got stormtroopers, rebel troopers. Those are all core, but like it seems like your advanced troopers are going to be special forces. So I don't think death troopers would end up being core, right? So it makes you wonder, well, what other core units could we get? Maybe those Scarif troopers might be like another core. I don't think we need any more core just yet, but maybe down the road, right? What other rebel core could we get? Like maybe some Saw Gerrera partisans, you know? So like that's some interesting stuff. Let's see. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up, guys. Yeah. So if you were watching, if you came in late, I know I kind of advertised this as winners and losers. So I'm gonna recap winners and losers for Armada. So some of the winners were the Centocor title for the Architans, because that kind of helps mitigate the loss of some of the distance you had for relay. Squadronless fleets, because relay and the flotillas activating them and are less of a threat now. So if you have a much better chance of being able to blow up an enemy fleet and before all the squadrons get you, and you're not going to have those situations where a flotilla is off the board and you know, or you know, you have like there's two flotillas on opposite corners of the board, and they're just using relay to finish you off. So that's not a thing anymore. That was cheesy anyway. You know, you got to keep your risk versus reward in there. Slow fleets that don't have to chase down flotillas anymore to kill them. Big winner. I think Akbar is a winner. Is that 4? 4 Akbar, possibly a winner. For Akbar fleets, you don't necessarily need the accuracies as much, so you don't have to run home 1 anymore. Or not anymore, but as badly. And Hera. And kind of by extension, all squadrons with Rogue, but specifically Hera, because she still is able to, out of all the squadrons that relay was nerfed on, Hera didn't actually have relay. She had a different type of relay by giving 2 people Rogue, so she was not affected. So I think Hera Syndulla might be the biggest winner out of these changes. I expect to see more Hera in the future, and that will be fun. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys liked the hanging out with me. I want to thank you so much. It was great, and I will be doing some more of these periodically, so hopefully we get some more Wave 8 news before May the 4th, but we'll see. I definitely want it before Gen Con, and hopefully we get something else announced at Gen Con also, but it's getting kind of close, so if we don't get something soon, we may not see anything at Gen Con. It may just be like, all right, you're only getting 1 announcement per year, and I'd kind of like a little more than that. But I also think we're going to see X-Wing announcements too. I mean, there's got to be a Scum Falcon coming. It's got to be that new Lando Falcon. It's got to be coming, right? And maybe they just have to wait until the movie comes out. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.